DAZN is the home of boxing, with over 150 live fights a year.
It's over! There's no way back from this, surely!
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
How do you like it? How do you like it?
That is unbelievable.
These guys will be legends in their own country, but also in the international basketball world forever.
That is what sport means. That is what the EuroLeague trophy means.
Are you not entertained?
I'm not supposed to be cheering, but this is X Series. I can do whatever I want.
Everything is difficult in this life, so still you need to be on it.
It all comes down to tonight. Don't miss the biggest night in MMA. PFL is more than a fight.
Catching up on any NFL game is easier than ever before.
Looking to the end zone for the win! Oh my gosh, one of the great games you'll ever see.
The competition is back, and the UEFA Women's Champions League looks set to be bigger and better than ever before.
It's their time, a night to remember.
The following program is recommended for those 16 and over, as it contains sporting violence, possible bad language, and flashing imagery.
Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of Ariel and Ade right here on the undisputed global home of boxing, DAZN. What a week it shall be. What a massive weekend we have to come, and it is so great to be back in the saddle. Last week, Ade flying solo, and dare I say, did a masterful job. So good, I thought, that maybe they'd call me up and say they don't need me anymore. But luckily, that phone call never came. And so we are back. We are reunited, and it feels so good. We have so much to talk about on this Benn Eubank fight week. My guy, Ade, in the heart of it all, in the mix.
Yeah, kind of.
Well,
kind of in the mix.
I mean, you're there.
I'm on the outside looking in right now.
No, you're not.
That's okay. I'm on the outside looking in, but it's fine. I'm not complaining.
Listen, wherever you are is in the mix. It doesn't matter, all right? Take it from someone who has prided himself on being an outsider. It ain't too bad on this side of the fence. You understand?
I get you. And thanks for your kind words about my solo effort last week. I know they're all lies.
It's not true.
It was hard going. I feel, I don't know, my ratings for you have gone up, Ariel. I didn't think they could get any higher than they are, but they've gone up. They've gone up a few levels. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it for 3-4 hours. It's incredible.
Yeah,
I shall watch you and take tips next time.
No, listen, it is tough to do it once a week. Certainly tougher Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, twice on Tuesday.
There we go.
Yes, all that stuff. No. You did bring up a good point when you said it multiple times last week, and I appreciated that. But you did great. Hamza Shiraz, great. Adam Smith, great as well. And I am very happy to be back because we have so much to discuss. There's so much going on, and obviously a massive weekend to come. April 26th. It is 4 days away. Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Wow.
I'll be very, very happy for the locals who have something to get excited about, because Lord knows they didn't have anything to get excited about yesterday, Ade. Forest are magic on and off the pitch. Forest are magic on and off the pitch.
I feel sorry for Ange Postecoglou. For those of you that don't know what we're talking about, he's the Tottenham Hotspur football manager. I feel sorry for him. I really do. Because it's just every interview now is really hard work. I mean, he looks on the floor, doesn't he? He looks at the floor, doesn't want to make eye contact. He just wants out. He just wants to try and win this trophy and go. Yeah.
He looks miserable. That is true.
He does.
But it was a massive away win for the good guys. And so they'll have something to cheer for on Saturday as the two men come together. We had the grand arrivals. We'll talk about that in a moment as well. The great Eddie Hearn of Matchroom fame is going to be joining us in just a few minutes' time. We'll also talk about Ben Whitaker's big win on Sunday. What a win in Birmingham for him. What a comeback win. Dare I say, a y'all must have forgot win for Ben Whitaker.
It was. I feel like the referee has taken away the shine from that win. But he was on his way to, I think, a destructive knockout. And let's not forget, when we had Liam Cameron on, after Liam Cameron left, obviously I wasn't going to say it to him, but I did say I think Ben's going to put on a performance. So, I must have forgot what I know.
Yeah.
Because I did call it. I called it. I said Ben's going to get the job done, and he did emphatically.
Okay, we'll talk more about that. There's some fight news to discuss as well. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on as always, and I'm looking forward to sinking our teeth into it. We even have the answer to the question that has been on everyone's mind, and that is who is going to be Jake Paul's next victim. We have that answer as well. One
second. That's been on everyone's mind?
No.
What, the world has been waiting?
I thought so.
To know who Jake Paul's going to fight next?
Bated breath.
Okay.
I just do that. Okay. I do that for the YouTube chat.
No. To be fair, I have. But when I kind of felt it could be Canelo, then Gervonta's like, okay, well, he's going big time here. Who's it going to be? And then obviously we got the answer.
And we'll get your thoughts. Well, I feel like I know where you're going with all of this.
No. I'm excited by it.
I'm actually kind of excited to hear what our first guest has to say about it all. And so let's bring him in. He is the head man over at Matchroom. He is the man who's in the mix. He was there at the grand arrivals just a few hours ago. He's a man who needs no introduction. The great Eddie Hearn is here. Hello, Eddie. Thank you for joining us. I do believe our very first repeat guest on the program. So I'm glad to hear that you had a very good time the first time around.
Thank you.
Grand arrivals have come and gone. But if we could just finish up that thought, are you excited? Jake Paul, JCC Jr., June 28th? You like this matchup for Jake?
I mean, I prefer it to the Mike Tyson one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I think that Jake, unless Jake makes loads of money, he's not going to take any substantial risks. So it's very calculated. You know, Chavez, didn't he lose to
Anderson Silva? Anderson Silva, yep.
Yeah. So who Jake beat. But I get it, obviously he's quite well known in Mexico. I think the fight will do quite well. I don't think he's horrendous, Chavez. I mean, if he could just get himself in some kind of shape and condition, it could at least be competitive. But size, youth. It's a good bit of matchmaking. Not awful.
Okay, fair enough. Somewhat positive. Appreciate that. Let's get to the business at hand. That is this weekend's mega fight at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You were just there at the grand arrivals. I saw you up there. It looked like you were ready to go. Like I felt like you were just letting Chris know if he had anything up his sleeve that you were ready. You were kind of flexing up there, which I appreciated. Any sort of issues between you and Chris this time around?
No, not really. I mean, I don't think I'm his favourite, promoter. I don't think he's very fond of many promoters, but I respect Chris. I think he's a tough man. I think, come from kind of like his father's shadow. I think both of them, to be honest with you, this is the fight that kind of takes him out of that shadow. Eubank Jr. has been around for a little bit longer. And Conor Benn really has the chance on Saturday to really become one of the biggest stars, certainly in British boxing, maybe even globally. I mean, if he can put together a special performance, which he'll need to do, coming up a couple of divisions against Chris Eubank, but I really believe he'll do it on Saturday. He's in tremendous shape. And, yeah, when those two come together, it's always special. But when they do it in front of 65,000 people on Saturday, it's going to be crazy.
Eddie, compare it to some of the big ones that you've promoted recently or been involved with. Obviously, we had AJ Dubois a few months back. That was massive, Wembley Stadium. Every AJ fight is big, right? Some of the big Canelo ones that you've done as well. How does this sit? Where does it compare?
Well, I think outside of the heavyweights, outside of Anthony Joshua, it's the biggest fight since Froch Groves. Wow. You know, that was a one-off kind of freak fight that we did 80,000. That was kind of the first time we'd done a big stadium fight in British boxing. And since then, it's only really been AJ. You know, I think Fury, particularly against Dillian White, did a great gate. But outside of the big boys, this is by far the biggest fight. And the thing is with this fight, everybody knows the narrative. Everybody knows the story. You know, it doesn't matter if you're 70 or 80 years old. You remember the great fights between their fathers. You know, if you're middle-aged, like unfortunately like me, I know both of them. I was around for both. If you're a younger generation, you know Conor and Junior. You know, and that's why this fight is garnering national interest. You know, national news, front page, back page. You don't really see that, to be honest with you. And it's going to do huge numbers on DAZN on Saturday. This one could break some records. And to be honest with you, I think what people have really got to understand, I think they're starting to acknowledge it now. It's a great fight. You know, no one really knows how this fight is going to go. Forget the fact that the DAZN Nigel and Chris Eubank Sr. This is two world-class fighters in their respective divisions stepping up with a great storyline and narrative and controversy and beef between the two of them. And that's without the fact that they are the sons of the fathers who had the greatest rivalry in the history of British boxing. So
does it surprise you?
Got everything.
Does it surprise you how big it's gone? Look, the first time around, O2 Arena, and I know it was going to do record numbers at the O2 Arena, but the fact is it was going to go to the O2 Arena, right? 20,000 or so. It was going to be DAZN's first pay-per-view event, I believe, in the UK. It's now 3 times bigger, at least in terms of stadium numbers, right? In terms of bums on seats. Did this surprise you how big it's gone in those 2.5 years?
Not really. I mean, you know, it actually surprised me first time around. I knew obviously it would sell out the O2, but it actually did the biggest recorded gate in the history of events at the O2, not just fights, but events. And this time around, with obviously the controversy, the 2 years, you know, and it's a different kind of animosity this time. Like before, there was an element of respect. It was like, you know, we're our father's sons, we're doing this, it's incredible. Now there's genuine hatred between them, which always leads itself into a bigger event. I was actually thinking earlier, it's such a huge advantage. I mean, I'd much rather not have Conor gone through, or even us gone through that last 2.5 years. But he's in a much better place now to win this fight than he was 2.5 years ago. You know, he's bigger. He's emotionally a lot more, you know, mature. I think psychologically he's a lot stronger. Obviously his resilience has been tested to the core. And I think he's a much better fighter. And Eubank got knocked out during that period as well by Liam Smith. So, yeah, I like our chances probably, on reflection, a lot more than I did 2.5 years ago. But it's not going to be easy. But I genuinely think it will be an incredible fight.
Just a couple of days ago, Senior kind of held court with the media, calling his son, Chris Jr., a disgrace, talking about the egg incident, all that stuff, saying, once again, he's not going to be a part of this, that he's very disappointed in him. Are you at all disappointed that ultimately Senior won't be there on Saturday in his corner?
Honestly, not for the promotion, but just the fact that it's his father and it's, you know, he is one of the all-time greats of British boxing. And your son is about to fight in one of the biggest fights in the history of British boxing. You know, I think it's a bit sad. And, you know, I don't really get on that much with Junior, but I wouldn't really go too deep into it because it's a personal thing. And I just hope that, look, life is much bigger than a fight and it's much bigger than Saturday. And I hope that they can, you know, rekindle their relationship because it's important. And Senior should be very proud of Junior.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he probably hasn't achieved necessarily all of what he would have liked to, but he's still had a good, solid career, made a lot of money. And again, on Saturday, he is fighting in one of the biggest fights in the history of British boxing against the son of your greatest rival. So I find it a little bit sad, but it's life. And hopefully those two can, you know, hug it out after the fight and you know, rekindle that relationship.
I noticed something in the midst of the press conference week and then in the aftermath, and I'm wondering if you have noticed it as well. For the longest time, as you know, Junior was somewhat of a villain in the UK. People thought that he didn't deserve the attention, or he was a Nepo baby, all this stuff and more. He wasn't as good as his dad. They didn't like his demeanor, his personality. But I feel like, to steal a pro wrestling phrase, he has become the biggest baby face, if you will, in boxing. Certainly in the UK, he's a good guy now because it feels like the people view him as the lone wolf who's without his dad, going up against you, going up against Conor, the allegations, all that stuff. And now all of a sudden I see in the comments, like, I've never wanted a fighter to win more. I love this version of him. Go, Chris. We're all backing you. Have you noticed a transformation? And if so, why do you think that has happened?
Well, I think Conor Benn's become a little bit of a villain, of course, over the last couple of years. I think not deservedly so, but that's just life. Conor's been very outspoken. I think some people have backed him, some people haven't backed him. And that's kind of opened the door for Chris to... Chris plays a fantastic game. I mean, he was fantastic in the press conferences. He's very calculated with everything that he does. And he's played a great game. To be honest with you, and this is very strange, and we are very strange, Ariel, I think both fighters will get booed on Saturday in some respect. Honestly, like, you think, how is that even possible? But it's just something that Brits do. Like, I don't know how we do it, but yeah, I think that Conor Benn was hugely popular, you know, before all the controversy. I think there's still an element of big respect for what he's overcome. But yeah, I think there will be people that want to see him get beat. I'm sure there'll be people that want to see Eubank Jr. get beat. But definitely, I think Eubank Jr.'s not stock has risen, but I just think, you know, it's almost like he doesn't take himself as serious anymore. I think in the early days, he was very surly. He was very, some might say cringe, but like, I think now I think he's more himself now, you know, and I think he has broken out of his father's shadow. And early on in his career, the father was there the whole time on his shoulder. You know, all the pictures of him with a flag, and, you know, and Junior's come into his own, and, you know, he's a fun personality.
Eddie, at the first press conference, I brought up the weight in terms of, you know, the weight cap that Chris will have to kind of make sure he does on fight morning and fight night. Can you clear it up? Because I feel like there's some confusion. People online are saying this, and some people are saying that. What is the weight that Chris has to make come Saturday morning?
170 pounds.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first fight was at 157 pounds with a 9 pound hydration. And this fight is at 160 pounds with a 10 pound hydration.
Okay.
So, look, the difference really right now, specifically tonight, was Conor Benn's flying. He's probably about 162 pound right now, something like that. So he's just going to naturally fall on weight on Friday. Eubank's going to have to, like every championship fighter, make that weight on Friday, and then he'll just have to watch himself. Really, I don't think it will be a struggle at all for him to stay within the 10 pound limit. It will be Saturday morning. The reality is, Conor Benn will go into the ring probably at 160 pounds, or very close to 162, 163. And Chris Eubank will go into the ring somewhere between 175 and 180 pounds. So Chris Eubank will have somewhere between 10 pounds and a stone on Conor Benn in the ring, which is a huge advantage. But we know that, and we've signed up for that. So we're not sulking about it or going to make any excuses. It is what it is. But, you know, the narrative of, you know, Eubank's bringing himself down to the weight, it's a championship weight. He's made it the last 5 fights. It's not, you know, and yes, the hydration is designed for it not to get out of control, where he might have 20 or 25 pound on Conor Benn in the ring, which would just be ridiculous.
Yeah, today it was the first time seeing them again. Obviously, they couldn't go face to face, but you could see the size difference in the two. I felt not just in height, which is obviously there, but in terms of just frame as well. I felt like Eubank just looked bigger. I know he was wearing a big jacket. You could see that he's a bit bigger than than Conor. What's the plan with Conor? I mean, obviously, look, there is a rematch clause that was again known after the press conference. Can he get back down to 147? Is he going to try and find a land-end spot? 154 pounds. Like, what's the sort of the 12 to 18 month plan? Because I think he's a superstar. He's got the superstar looks. He's got the following. Love him or hate him, you're going to tune in. And he could be the big British superstar that we've been waiting for after AJ. What is the plan with him?
Well, I mean, if he wins, I think he becomes that big star. I mean, I think anytime you're involved in a fight like this, your profile goes to new levels. I think that Conor has enjoyed the camp. I mean, look, the sparring partners are Denzel Bentley, Bruno Saras, William Skull.
Wow, big guys.
A couple of light heavyweights in there as well. And he's looked sensational in sparring, sensational. But he's not a middleweight. I mean, there's no doubt about that. When you come back down, it's very difficult. I mean, there are similarities in this fight to Kell Brook against Gennady Golovkin in terms of the welterweight jumping up and facing the middleweight. Chris Eubank Jr., one thing he's definitely not is Gennady Golovkin, especially when Gennady was in his prime. But interestingly, after that fight, Kell Brook remained world champion at 147 pounds and then decided to stay there and fight his mandatory, which at the time was Errol Spence. And I actually said to him, I really think you should move to 154. I think that's your perfect weight class. But he wanted to defend his title, and it was brutal coming back down to 147 after really feeling pretty good at 160, but obviously fighting Gennady Golovkin. So I think Conor still has it in his mind to return to 147, but a lot will depend on his performance and how he feels in the ring. He's definitely not a middleweight, but whether he returns to 54 or 47, we'll have to see.
Did the British Boxing Board of Control really fine him $100,000? Chris Jr. Pounds. Did they really do that? And do you think that's fair?
I think there's a couple of things. Number one, unfortunately, in a way, that is the way that the world, the online world, the quest for numbers is going. Number two, for all the hard work that everybody does for boxing in the community and the way that we talk about the things that it instills in the future generations, like discipline, manners, respect, and for all those people that put all the hard work in within the community to young kids to teach them what's right and wrong, we can't just sit back and say, oh, it's only a bit of fun. It's only, it did big numbers, didn't it? It's like, what sort of world are we living in? You can't strike someone round the face at a press conference. Forget the egg. Forget if you find it funny, whatever. And I get it now. On reflection, it was a good move. I get it, but you can't just allow, as a governing body, to say that that's okay. I guess the issue that some people may have with it is the value of the fine, because it's a significant number, And as long as that number goes into things like, ex-boxers association or old fighters that may have, picked up injuries in the sport who need support, then I get it. But I think a lot of the reaction from fans in the media is, where does that money go? But it is a significant number. But we just have to, otherwise, Ariel, you're moving into like a misfits world, and it's like, it's not what we're about. It's not what the sport's about, And it seems fine now for the younger generation to think that they can do things like that. And that's not what the sport is trying to instill in people.
That is fair. Can I ask, were you surprised that he ultimately paid the undercard fighters from the first bout in October?
No, not once he said it. No. I mean, it's very difficult because, as I said, everything that Chris does is calculated. But you can't really criticise what he did because fighters got paid money, and if you start saying, "Oh, he just did it," it was a move with like a message behind it, and who does a good deed and then sticks it all over the internet, but at the end of the day, he did it, didn't he? And it's good for boxers. Unfortunately, we live in a world where the industry standard, if you like, doesn't do that. Whether that's right or wrong, the biggest job of a promoter is to reschedule that fighter's date as soon as possible. We've actually only cancelled, I think, 2 shows in the history of me being a promoter. Normally, we just somehow find a way to carry on and just made sure everyone gets on. But in that instance, with the furore behind the incident and the main event falling through, we cancelled the show. And every one of our fighters got a new date immediately within, I think, some as early as 2 weeks. Do you know what I mean? But of course, you do train a little bit longer, and it was a nice gesture. I think it was a nice gesture.
I always feel like the undercard fighters, and when it's mega shows like this, the undercard fighters get forgotten. And I get it, right? It's the Eubank and Benn show, so ultimately they know the place that they are. But there's some really good undercard fights. You've got a couple of fighters in big fights as well. Chef Clark, I think, is an incredible fight against Vidal O'Reilly. That, for me, is almost like the co-main event. I think that's the one where people are completely split.
I think that's the fight kicking off the night. Yeah, that's the fight kicking off the night. Yeah. So that's a really good domestic 50-50 fight. It's a big fight for Chev. You know, he really needs to win that fight. Vidal O'Reilly, you know, kind of come from that KSI YouTube world, but has actually proved that he can really fight as well. And I think the fight of the night could be Liam Smith against Aaron McKenna. It's a really, really good fight. It's kind of like a crossroads fight, a very good middleweight, unbeaten prospect in McKenna against, you know, world-class middleweight in Liam Smith that really needs to win. Yard, of course, against Lyndon Arthur, the trilogy of that fight. And even Chris Billam-Smith against America's Brandon Glanson. It's a good fight. I think you're going to get some crackers on there. And it's difficult because when there's a fight that's garnering so much attention and hype in Eubank Benn, you almost don't really focus on the undercard. But you're going to get, you know, a really good night of boxing there as well.
Eddie, away from matters on Saturday, there's been so much boxing news. And one of the big, I think, stories in the last couple of days, and again, you can confirm this because you know what Twitter's like and social media, people just make up stories and run with them. But it's Shakur Stevenson. Obviously, look, big fight for him against William Zepeda. You've promoted the last couple of Shakur Stevenson fights. It seemed as though everything was fantastic. He's been over here. I'm sorry, just the one. Apologies. What's the situation with Shakur Stevenson? Because we're hearing
the situation is quite straightforward. We have a 2-fight agreement with Turki Al-Sheikh and Shakur Stevenson, which includes the Zepeda fight. And that's how it is. You know, I was with His Excellency today for a couple of hours and the team. You know, I saw the news as well, and obviously just wanted to say to him, you know, we do have this agreement, right? I mean, 1, it's papered, and 2, it's confirmed in front of everybody. And the answer is absolutely. So July 12th is the last of that agreement, but hopefully we can promote Shakur Stevenson for the rest of his career. I mean, I think he's one of the best fighters in the world. I've always said that our agreement with him is 2 fights, and we hope that it extends beyond that. And hopefully we can beat Zepeda on July 12th and then move into big fights.
Speaking of Turkey, there was all this hysteria like a month or so ago with the announcement with TKO. It feels like it has dissipated a little bit. WBC seems to be in good graces. Everyone seems happy. Can you tell us about the state of the relationship? Because again, speaking of social media, it seems like every day it's, you know, Eddie's fallen out of favor. Frank has fallen out of favor. Where do things stand?
Well, I was with Frank. I was with His Excellency today and Frank. I mean, no one's fallen out of favour. I mean, sometimes you have to look at the sources of these comments. Like, I mean, how would even this individual know that we've fallen out? And it's absolute rubbish. Turkey doesn't really fall out with any promoters. Like, it really is where you are and where he is at the time with His Excellency. So, like, when he's in America, for example, he's around, I don't know, Oscar and PBC and whatever. And then when he's in London, he's in front of me and Frank, and we're planning what we're doing. I mean, today we talked about, blimey, 1, 2, 3, 4 fight nights that we're all doing with him for the rest of the year, and the plans for Riyadh. I mean, he doesn't slow down, you know, and the plans are unbelievable. And there's you know, it's always been wild, and there's always been like this complete madness. But the more time you actually spend with him, the more you realise that there is a strategy and there is a very deep plan. So, no, I can confirm I definitely haven't fallen out with His Excellency. We are running all the logistics next week for Times Square, which is an incredibly tough job that the team have done out there. And then I will be travelling with him from Times Square to Riyadh to land in time to watch Canelo Alvarez. So, yeah, unfortunately for those people that really hope I fall out with His Excellency, I haven't yet, and I don't plan to either.
That is great to hear. Could you tell us about Dmitry Bivol? It sounds like they're going to go with the trilogy. Do you have any idea when that may happen?
Yeah, that was part of our conversations today. So, planning what happens and who goes where at the back end of this year. Of course, His Excellency provided that first opportunity for Undisputed. Then he gave Dmitry Bivol the rematch, which he didn't have to do. And part of that agreement was that we fight a third fight if we win. And that's why we didn't fight Benavidez, because contractually we're obliged to fight Beterbiev. And that's the third fight, the big trilogy. So we will wait on confirmation from His Excellency on the date of that, but it will be a huge fight. And, you've seen two of the best fights, I think, in this generation in the light heavyweight division. And the third will be another special night.
Final one for me, Eddie. Anthony Joshua looks like he's enjoyed his time back in Nigeria. He looks refreshed, looks energized. Anything with regards to what next for him? Is it Tyson Fury or nothing? Or, like Tyson Fury or retirement? Or is it options?
Yeah. Okay. No, it's definitely not Tyson Fury or nothing. But at the same time, I don't want to say we're not in a rush, because it kind of makes us feel like we don't really have any hunger for it, which is definitely not true when it comes to Anthony Joshua. But he's when he gets back, he's going to enter full camp. He's going to be able to punch properly. So once we're in that flow, we know that we can set a fight date without worrying about him physically being ready. I'd be lying if I said that there wasn't a big part of me, and I would think AJ as well, that hopes that Tyson Fury doesn't pick up the phone and say, do you know what? Let's give the world the biggest fight in boxing.
Yes.
But if that doesn't happen, he's going to fight. 100%. He's definitely not going to wait around, and if Fury doesn't fight again, just go, hang him up. But it's who you fight, Obviously, Usyk's going to fight Dubois. Do you look at the winner? All of a sudden, if Dubois wins that fight, AJ can fight Dubois for Undisputed. Who knows what's going to happen? But we got to get this decision right. I mean, he's definitely got between 1 and 3 fights left. Okay. So every decision now is key. And he's still the fire still burns for AJ, no doubt about that. But it bugs me to say it, but yeah, we really do want the big man to give us a call, because that's the fight, but it's got to come from Tyson Fury.
What a time, Eddie! What a time! You talk about that July date. We could have 3 massive shows that weekend with the card here in New York City, potential Wembley card as well. The other one on the 12th here in New York in some sort of secret location. Massive weekend next weekend with 3 big shows in New York, Riyadh, and Las Vegas. And of course, we kind of kick off this incredible stretch with the massive one at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I said at the top of the show, I'm happy the fans there will have something to cheer about because my beloved Nottingham Forest beat them yesterday. So I'm just happy. I just always find a reason to bring them up. So it was a nice 2-1.
Forest are flying. That's an unbelievable success story.
Isn't it something else? Yeah. Isn't it weird also, like when I hitch my wagon to them, all of a sudden, it's crazy, right? I mean,
it's also crazy that you call them beloved, and you've only just recently hitched your wagon to them.
Yeah, 3 long years. Yeah, it's been quite the struggle. But since then, no relegation, and here we are vying for a Champions League spot. I mean, it's something else. It really is.
How's UFC these days and MMA?
I love this. Tell us. Why do you ask that question? What's the
there's nothing facetious in it. It's a genuine question. Like, I feel like boxing at the moment is just skyrocketing in terms of eyeballs, attention, narrative, conversation, digital narrative. And look, UFC is a massive business, but I just, do they need to make I'm saying this as a complete MMA casual. Do they need a John Jones against Aspinall style fight to really, not get back on track, because the business is incredible, but I don't know. It wasn't a leading question. It was just curiosity.
Well, I think you know a lot about what is going on. You call yourself a casual, if you will. I think you know more. And I think it was a very appropriate question, because I would say, just as we spoke a few months ago and it pissed some people off, there are more intriguing things happening in the sport of boxing. Now, we are comparing a sport to a promotion, but let's be honest, the promotion really is the sport. MMA right now is in a recession. MMA is in a really tough spot. There is no number 2. Lord knows there's no number 3, certainly not here in North America. And to your point, the UFC, they'll have their big shows once a month, a pay-per-view, typically top heavy. The last one was good. The next one is top heavy. Their Super Bowl show, their big one of the year, usually happens end of June, early July. That's International Fight Week. It's April 22nd right now. They have yet to announce a main event because they don't have a main event. John Jones isn't signing up for the Aspinall fight as of right this moment. They don't know what they're going to do with Ilia Topuria, who's their other big star coming out of Spain and Georgia. It's not a great time. Conor McGregor has shown no interest in coming back, and so people could say whatever they want. They're about to score a massive rights deal in the States, as you probably know. But in terms of like a high watermark for the sport, an apex moment for the sport, we are not in that moment right now.
Is it a lack of stars? Like, this just happened. I think, by the way, I think this is cyclical. People talk about it in British boxing at the moment. These guys are getting old. Yeah, well, guess what? The new guys that are coming through that are 5-0, 8-0, 10-0, 12, they are the future, and they'll get there. But sometimes there's just that lull.
It is 100% cyclical. You're 100% right, and you're someone who knows about this. I also feel like there's a bit of a McDonaldization of the promotion, where they have gotten so popular that it all starts to feel a little rinse repeat. They do these shows at the Apex, which I think has taken the soul away from the events. They're doing like 10 or so a year, hopefully less next year. And there was once a time where Dana White would say our shows would never be like boxing events, top heavy, 1 or 2 big fights and nothing underneath. And anyone who tells you otherwise, that they are not doing that right now, is simply lying. They're very top heavy, and then the rest are relatively up and coming, unknown, soon to be players, soon to be contenders, but not what they were back in 2009, 2010, 11. The biggest star in the UFC are the 3 letters. Would you not agree that when the UFC says they come to town, they could sell tickets off those 3 letters alone? I don't know if a lot of promotions, respectfully, including your own, that could say, we're coming to town and we're going to sell out. People need to know who's on the card. The UFC and WWE are probably the only combat sports entities right now, in my opinion, that could do that. Do you agree or disagree?
I do think we're the closest to that, where we can go to a new territory globally and say, Matchroom are coming to town. But it is like, I know, obviously you get it because you know the sport, but it's a bit like darts.
Oh, yeah.
With the PDC. Yeah. I mean, I know Luke Littler isn't the current, big attraction, but we go to arenas, people don't even know who's playing, and it sells out instantly. And that's the beauty of the UFC. How long can you rely on that if there aren't still some stars popping in and out, But very interesting.
Yes, we could talk about this all day. But I don't want to leave my friend Ade out.
Maybe that's one for one of your other shows. Yeah?
Yes, but actually, I was asked today if you'd like to come by. If we'd like to have you in studio next week, you'll be in town, and so we can continue this conversation.
Well, let's do some MMA chat next week, Ariel.
Perfect.
I'm so versatile.
I look forward to that as well. Thank you so much, Eddie. Good luck this weekend. We're looking forward to it very much.
Cheers, guys. Take care.
All right, there he is, the great Eddie Hearn. Ade, he didn't want to leave.
You know what? I liked what he said, because obviously you said UFC, WWE, and he's right. PDC, the darts.
Yep.
They're when they go to town, you don't necessarily need to care who's playing. People will just turn up. Darts is growing massively. It's incredible.
Oh yeah, and it is kind of like pro wrestling. When you go to the events with the walkouts, with the characters, all that stuff, they've done a tremendous job. I'm looking forward to them coming to New York at the end of June as well. Let's go back to Eubank Benn. And I referenced Senior not being there. I just want to play a clip for you to react to, because I can't quite I can't like get rid of it. I can't stop thinking of it. This is Senior speaking to Seconds Out. He spoke to a whole bunch of media outlets, but the one with Seconds Out stood out for me, where he literally calls his son a disgrace. And
horrible.
You know, as a father, as a son, again, Eddie said it perfectly. Fighting, promotion, one thing, but this is family stuff, and I hate the fact that we have gotten to this point. In case you missed it, here it is.
Junior, you're smashing an egg against this guy's face. I taught you that. I didn't teach you that. Who taught you that? Did Karen teach you that? Who taught you that? That's disgraceful. I'm gonna stand in your corner. You must be mad. You must be mad. I would never be in your corner. You're a disgrace. You're smashing an egg in someone's face, and then you're saying you're trying to justify it. There's no justification for that. There's nothing noble about that.
You are a disgrace, and you see the fire in which he says that.
Yeah.
You must be mad that I'll be in your corner. What's your reaction?
Very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
very uncomfortable. I almost wish that we didn't sort of see Chris speak to those outlets. And I get it, those outlets have got to do what they've got to do. We played the clip as well. I remember when Chris first started out, I was lucky enough to kind of be a junior reporter, if you like, at the time. And I used to go to those press conferences, and Chris Jr. would sit there almost a bit like a robot or a statue and not say anything. And it was the Chris Eubank Senior show. And then eventually I started to see Chris Jr. start talking and become his own man, and Chris Senior almost sort of go into the shadows. And now Chris Jr. is his own man, right? Says what he wants. And I almost feel like the dad hates that. He hates that he no longer has control of his son, and his son now can do what he wants to do. And rightly so, he's a man. He's a 35-year-old man. And what annoys me the most is that every time Chris Jr. is asked questions about his dad, he still speaks with him in glowing terms, with so much respect, hopes that the wound can be healed. I remember when he had a wonderful conversation with himself. He's never, ever said anything negative, to my knowledge, about his dad. Yet he has to hear that. He has to hear that on the eve of the biggest night of his career against the Benns. He has to hear someone that he wants in his corner, that he's openly said he would work to get in his corner. He hears someone calling him a disgrace. For what? What's he done disgraceful? Chris Eubank Jr., I've been around boxing, working in it for nearly a decade. I know some horrible characters. I know some good ones. Chris Eubank Jr. is one of the best people I've seen in boxing. Look at what he just did in terms of penning the undercard. Is that a disgraceful human being's behavior? He's wonderful. He's great for the sport. Honestly, when I heard those words, it kind of hurt me in my heart a little bit, because I want him to be there for his son. I just think it makes perfect sense. But I also wouldn't want someone that has that energy around me come fight week. I just wouldn't want it. So, look, I hope it gets resolved behind the scenes. But I thought some of the words there from Senior, who I respect so much, I just think went way too far.
Why do you think he speaks with that type of vitriol when talking about that? Like, ultimately, what did
Because he's no longer in control of his son.
Sure.
That's what it is. Again, being at those press conferences. I mean, you remember when he used to get in the ring and be in the corner, and it was always about the Chris Eubank Senior show.
Sure.
He didn't even give his son advice. I remember it like it was yesterday. He would almost just kind of walk around, and I'm like, what's he doing? And now that his son no longer needs him for that, I think it annoys him. And I honestly, that's the only thing I can put it to. Look, there have been other issues. Obviously, look, he lost a son. Chris lost a brother. And that's going to affect them as well. No doubt both of them are still going through the issues with that. But you don't need to air that in public. Like, he always talks about being noble and just being a gent, if you like. If you are that, why would you air that about your son to a YouTube outlet? Honestly, I think it's a disgrace what he's done.
You're cooking here. You're 100% on point, and I couldn't agree more. It's very uncomfortable to watch. I have great affinity. I had a chance to meet Chris Senior at Mayweather McGregor. I was blown away by his character, by his persona, by his aura, if you will, and then had him on the show. But this is uncomfortable, and I don't think Junior deserves this, to be honest.
No.
He does not deserve it, and he certainly doesn't deserve it 10 or so days before one of the biggest fights of his life. It's uncomfortable to watch. It's one thing if it's a former manager or a former trainer speaking like this. This is a father speaking about his son, and it cuts different. And Chris Jr. has said all the right things whenever asked these uncomfortable questions, and so you have to imagine deep down inside he is hurting. You have to imagine.
Of course he is, and it's funny because obviously you said it in a joking sense, but it almost does feel like it's Chris Jr. versus Nigel Benn, Connor Benn, and Eddie Hearn.
Oh no, 100%.
Let's be honest.
Yeah,
it's not really Ben Shalom.
No,
it's not Ronnie Davis. They're not really saying anything. It's him versus three. And all of a sudden, the person he needs right now is his dad. He needs that
now more than ever.
There.
Yeah,
now more than ever. Now more than ever. And not only are you not getting your dad, and he's saying that about you. So it's one thing. Okay, you know what? Chris Senior's not going to be there. We tried. Fair enough. No problem. But then when you get him saying things like that, like who taught you to behave like that? You're a disgrace. Did I bring you up like this? I mean, what are we doing? He's not a 16-year-old. He's a 35-year-old man. It's honestly, it blew my mind.
What a roller coaster this new chapter in the Benn Eubank rivalry has taken from 2022 when we thought we were going to get it, and then it all kind of blew up in smoke. I'd imagine Eddie has a little bit of PTSD this week, just thinking like, let's get to Saturday, because that fight week was just absolutely insane, and it seems like, at least as of now, it's Tuesday, all systems are a go, and the thread, the story, the foundation of the first time around was built on the rivalry between Senior and Nigel Benn, and that still remains. Here we are speaking of Senior. Nigel's going to be in his son's corner come Saturday, and when I think of the Benn Eubank rivalry, it actually reminds me of another famous family rivalry, and that's the Harrigans and the Stevensons. Are you familiar with the Harrigans and the Stevensons?
Of course I am, dude. I've been watching Mobland. I've watched all the episodes that have been aired so far. I'm obsessed with it.
Well, we didn't speak about this beforehand. I hope that you're being serious, because our very first sponsor is Mobland, which is premiering and streaming right now on Paramount Plus. You didn't even know this. This is legit. This is a shoot.
This really? This is
Look at the screen. Look at the screen. There it is, presented by Mobland, which, by the way, we are 4 episodes in. It's tremendous stuff. Tom Hardy, Pierce Brosnan, Helen Mirren, who else? Guy Ritchie is the executive producer and director. It's a tremendous series about a family rivalry, the Harrigans and the Stevensons. In case you haven't watched it, unlike Ariel and I, take a look at this.
We have a situation developing.
Problem solved. Power is a hungry thing.
With family rivalries on everyone's minds,
it's incredible.
You got to watch this. It premieres every Sunday, new episode every Sunday on Paramount Plus. You can go back and watch the first 4 episodes. A tremendous sort of old school London family rivalry, mobster stuff, everything you want and more to get you ready for Saturday's Benn Eubank Showdown. And I love the fact that I actually purposely didn't tell you that they were going to be our first sponsor, because we've been talking about having a sponsor for weeks. You're an actual fan. What better?
Dude,
better
it's
reaction?
Crazy. Like, honestly, I love Guy Ritchie. Obviously, look, I grew up on Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. And what I love about Mobland as well, obviously, look, shot in London. And I just love the fact that I can see sort of venues and where he's been. I can see certain streets. I know certain streets of where some of the stuff was shot. So it's actually incredible. Honestly, it's incredible. And look, Tom Hardy, one of my favorite actors, Helen Mirren, who's like just royalty over here. And so is Pierce Brosnan. So look, fantastic cast. And I'm itching to get to Sunday for episode 5, because I don't want to give too much away, but it's starting to get really heated. So yeah, what an amazing sponsor.
Amazing. Going back to Chris, if I can, Chris Jr., do you agree with what I said to Eddie in terms of the fact that he has now become the babyface? And if so, why do you think that is? Your boots on the ground, you have the temperature of the people, you're right there. It feels like every time I look at the comments of a Chris Jr. interview, everyone's like, please, Chris, do it. I want you to do it. I'm on your side. I've finally turned in your corner. What happened here? And did this actually happen? Am I reading it correctly?
No, you are. Look, and it's almost happened by default. I mean, let's not sort of sugarcoat or try and just skim over what Conor Benn has been through in the last 2.5 years and the reasons why the first fight didn't happen. I still feel like there is a lot of anger. Even though me and you have kind of got over it, I feel like there's still a lot of British fight fans that are angry with Conor Benn. And so by default, if he's fighting a fellow Brit, they're on that side now. So that's happened. I think they look at the situation with his dad, so they're going to jump to that as well. They look at it like, okay, it's him versus Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn is almost the person that everyone loves to hate for some reason. Like Eddie Hearn will probably get booed walking in as well. So it's like him versus that team over there. And I feel like they're starting to finally understand the Chris Eubank Jr. humor and his personality. I think a lot of people looked at it early as being quite snobbish, but now they realize that's who he is. But they also know that he's got a kind heart. I think they're seeing how he's looking after his brother that passed away, their child. He's almost taken on the role of looking after that child, and I think people can see that. He obviously paid all the undercard fighters. He put that out there as well. They can see that. So how can you not like him? Like, what's he done wrong? And I always feel like Chris used to say this, like, guys, what am I doing wrong? I don't cheat. I get in there. I try my hardest. I fight. I'm not out partying. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. I'm a good guy. And I think finally people are starting to say, you know what? You're not that bad after all, are you? So, I think it's taken a while. But at the age of 35, the British public are finally behind him. But I think it's also because they're not really behind Conor Benn. So it's almost like one's working with the other.
Win or lose, you think we're getting a rematch?
It depends how it plays out.
Okay.
I think like most fights, right? It depends how it plays out. If this goes to points, Bivol Beterbiev-esque, then why not? If it doesn't, then I think both go their separate ways.
Oh, really? Wow. I thought it was fait accompli no matter the result, regardless.
No, but I mean, it's no matter the result.
It's the biggest fight for both of them, right?
It is, but it's all down to bums and seats and interest. And say, just play with me here. Say Conor Benn gets knocked out in 3 rounds. People are going to be, we knew it. Chris Eubank's too big, too strong, too experienced.
Sure.
We all move on. So something crazy has to happen, or it has to be a really tight fight, I think, for there to be a rematch.
How old were you in 1990?
I was 9.
9. Do you remember the first fight?
Absolutely.
Wow. Where did you watch it?
Yeah. ITV. So
no, I mean, like, where were you?
Oh, at home.
Okay.
But then my dad was around. So my dad used to be a big boxing fan. So all the big fights used to come on, even the ones in America. My dad would watch it like that. So I remember that one almost like it was yesterday, that one.
Wow.
And what's really interesting as well is seeing Ronnie Davis, who's obviously part of Chris Eubank's team, seeing a young Ronnie Davis walk into the ring with Chris Eubank, who at the time I didn't like because I was a big Nigel Benn fan, but I gained so much respect for him in latter years.
And then where were you for the rematch?
I don't remember.
Wow.
Obviously, I remember the rematch, but I don't exactly remember where I was. Obviously, like 1993, Old Trafford. I was like just begging for Nigel to win. He did win that fight. Forget the record books, people. He won that fight. It wasn't a draw, but I don't remember where I was. I'm guessing, look, I would have been, 12? So I would have been at home, but I just don't remember.
Well, if in fact Junior and Conor fight again, that will be 4 fights between the Benns and Eubanks. There are 4 episodes already up on Paramount Plus right now. It's called Mobland. It's an all-star cast. We appreciate them joining forces with us. We appreciate their support very much. They support us. You should support them as well. Go check it out right now. Paramount Plus, Mobland, new episode 5 on Sunday. So once you're done with all the fighting, sit back and relax and watch a great series on Sunday. We appreciate them very much. I want to go back to Mr. Ben Whitaker, because you were just about to start looking there. He gets the win. Everyone's writing him off. A somewhat lackluster performance last spring, Crystal Palace. He comes back in October against Liam Cameron, and it's a total mess of a situation. Everyone thinks he wanted out. He was fraud checked, all these things and more. Comes back in Birmingham and gets the job done. He was aggressive. He was relentless. He was switched on. Not a lot of, antics, if you will. He teamed up with Andy Lee, who seems to be the fight whisperer at this time. He is on fire as far as being a head trainer is concerned. And then it somewhat ends with a bit of controversy on 2 fronts. Number one, the stoppage. Some said, hey, if that was Cameron pouring it on Whitaker, no way the ref stops it, number one. And number two, Whitaker fired up afterwards, sticks his head through the ropes. Some accused him of spitting. on Cameron's corner.
Absolute nonsense.
I don't agree. I didn't see that. But still, it was a little much. And then, again, Eddie alluded to this. I was surprised. I thought here's an Olympic silver medalist. He flew the flag. He represented the country. I could not believe the amount of hate that this guy was getting after a victory. Being called all these things, a helmet, a bellend, a sausage, all these words that you guys like to use.
Worse.
What
worse.
the and worse. Yes, you are right.
Yeah.
And worse. Racial stuff as well. What did you make of the whole scene? Starting, and I know I set up a lot there, but starting with the performance, the stoppage, and then, of course, the aftermath.
Oh, look, the performance was great, especially when you consider the pressure going into the fight. Again, only Whittaker will know what happened in the first fight. Like, only he will know whether or not he was really injured, whether or not he took Liam Cameron over the ropes, whether he wanted out or not. We don't know. Only he does. But regardless, nonetheless, that amount of pressure going into the second fight, right? You get home turf. It's on a home show. The promoter is your promoter. You have to win. Not only do you have to win, I think you have to look really good because there's a lot of hype about Ben Whittaker. You mentioned it, Olympic silver medalist. He's got the big following. Everyone thinks he's going to be a superstar. Andy Lee told me prior to signing up with him that he thinks he can beat everyone. So a lot of people have been very hyped. So it wasn't a case of just win, i.e. just go life and death and get a point to victory. You've got to look fantastic. And he did. He delivered. He delivered when the going got tough. When the back was against the wall, he found a way. And he looked razor sharp. And I think one thing that was key was that everyone was questioning whether or not he had punch power. But yes, he's got the flashy skills. We know that. But can he really hurt fellow 175-pounders? And I think we saw that he could. That right hand was fantastic. He leant to the body, and then he kind of sort of threw in a couple of more big right hands. And the referee, Howard Foster, I think a step too early, said no. I think Howard Foster robbed him what was going to be a fantastic victory, but nonetheless, the record books will say it was a victory. Now, the aftermath, this was an outpouring of emotion. I almost feel like we sometimes forget these guys are human. He has been through so much, and I think we saw that in his post-fight press conference when he cried. He has been through so much. I don't think we understand the pressure that these fighters have going into the ring. And for about 20 seconds, yes, he went over the top. He did. He made a mistake. He made a beeline for Liam Cameron's corner. He went under the ropes, shouted at Grant Smith. A bit of spit came out. He did not spit at him. A bit of spit came out. But then everyone calmed down. Andy Lee rightly said, look, go and apologize to him now, which he did, and go and apologize and go and give Liam Cameron a bit of a hug, which he did. We move on. British fight fans, for some reason, can't move on. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they just don't like him, that he's eccentric. I don't know if they just don't like that he is somewhat arrogant, somewhat overconfident. I don't understand. Because if you was to poll British fight fans right now and say, who is your greatest ever fighter? I guarantee you 90% of them would say Prince Nassim Hamed, who is also arrogant and overconfident. I don't understand the problem with being a bit different. If Ben Whittaker was an American fighter, you guys would be lapping him up. And I cover American fights right now, and they lap up all the eccentric and overconfident fighters. British fight fans seem to despise it. They want everyone to march to the same hymn sheet. And I think it's a disgrace. Leave him alone. Let him just be who he wants to be. Honestly, it really makes my blood boil the way he gets treated, especially when the racial slurs start coming out as well.
Oh, yeah.
It just annoys the hell out of me. But Ben, this is what you signed up for. You're going to get more of it, unfortunately. And I would say my advice to Ben would be, it's better to be hated than to be in a place where people find you a bit indifferent and don't tune in.
Sure.
They're going to tune in to see you get chinned, or they're going to tune in to see you win. Either way, they're tuning in.
Yeah, that is fair. And I appreciate the passion and the emotion because it's an uncomfortable thing to witness as well. By all accounts, seems like a good young man who is easy to root for, who is fun, who, again, represented the country, got this close to winning a gold medal. I don't get it. It's not his fault that the referee stopped the fight when he did. He didn't make that call, so don't blame him for that. And yes, was he emotional afterwards? Yeah, if he would have spat on the corner, that would have been a problem. Him going over, is it the best thing in the world? Nah, probably not. Is it the worst thing in the world? No, it's absolutely not. I want my favorite fighters, to have some emotion, to feel something, to know that he needed to win that and to prove a point. And could you imagine if he would have gone the distance with Liam Cameron? Imagine it would have went 10. Could you imagine the crap that he would have received? Here he was. He put it into overdrive. He got the win, and now he can move on. And Liam kind of stole our hearts. He was great on the program. He's a fun guy to root for. He's got a great story. He had his moment. But now Benn can move on. And so the question is, who does he move on towards? Who do you book him against next? If you're Ben Shalom and Boxer, what do you do with him now? Because there's a big spotlight on this young man. And I saw some fans even say, like, go to the States. They'll appreciate you more over there. I say, heck yeah, come to the States. I don't think he's as big of a draw here. I think that's kind of crazy, but we'll take Ben Whitaker. I'd love to have Ben Whitaker fight over here. Ultimately, how do you match him? Because that was just his 10th pro fight.
Yeah, it's crazy. One thing that we've got over here, though, is that we've almost got a perfect sort of stagger of levels when it comes to the light heavyweight division. So there's easy fights to make to see if he is British level, which I think he is. Then go and fight the British and Commonwealth champion, Lewis Edmondson. That's an easy fight to make. Edmondson wants to fight. Why not do that? If you come through that, then you can go up a level and fight the likes of Craig Richards. Again, just to see where you are. And then you can go up another level, Boatsy, Yard. And then the top level, I guess, is Callum Smith. So we can actually very quickly find out where Ben is in the next 12 to 18 months, because we've got so many light heavies here. And we've got so many that fit into certain categories: British level, European level, world level, and very elite world level. So Ben's going to have an easy job of matchmaking him. Ben Shalom, this is. And also, because he's a draw and because people want to beat him, I don't think it's going to be difficult to find fighters to fight him. And I think they're going to want to fight him now because he still is quite raw. As you say, it's only 10 fights and he's still learning his way with Andy Lee. So if you want to get Ben Whitaker, you better get him now. Because I do think in 12 to 18 months, 3 or 4 more camps of Andy Lee, he's going to be a very special fighter.
I still have nightmares after seeing what Fabio Wardley did to Fraser Clark last time out, with his jaw just being sort of rearranged there. So I was really curious to see how he would look in his return fight. He looked great, done and dusted in the first round. I thought he looked phenomenal. Your thoughts on his performance?
Yeah, he looked really good. It was another sort of refereeing howler, maybe. The referee jumped in a bit too quick. Ebenezer Tete actually pushed the referee off. Like, no, I'm okay. What are you doing? Although, Fraser Clark, 20 stone, landing big right hands. The referee's got to look out for his safety. But I, like you, was very concerned with Fraser. I went into the ring after that Fabio Wardley fight, and I made a beeline for Fraser just to look at him, and he looked in a very, very bad way. The type of way where I thought, okay, maybe that's it, or at least a year out. It's been 6 months. So he's actually returned back. He's come back quicker than Fabio Wardley. So look, it was a good win. It was a confidence-boosting win. And now he kind of waits to see what's going to happen with David Adeleye and Jimmy TKV. He wants to go and get the British title. He wanted to try and get it from Fabio Wardley. He was unlucky in the first fight, but he thinks he can beat either of those two guys. I think he has one more because that fight was so quick over the weekend. One more, and then you wait for the winner of David Adeleye and Jimmy TKV.
Can we go back to this Shakur Stevenson topic for a moment? Because it's a funky one on a couple of levels. All of a sudden, we thought maybe Stevenson and Zepeda wasn't going to happen. All of a sudden, we thought, I don't know, there was some sort of misunderstanding between Shakur and Turki Al-Sheikh. And then all of a sudden, we find out about this card on July 12th here in New York City. All the major venues are booked. That doesn't mean that it can't happen in like Central Park, for goodness sakes. They're doing a show in Times Square next weekend, but it's the day after the Netflix card, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano 3. It's on the same day as the, much rumored Dubois Usyk 3 or Usyk Dubois 3 card in Wembley. And then all of a sudden this stuff with Eddie comes out, him, Matchroom. It wasn't that long ago where he was like the new signing, the fresh new toy that they brought out. He only promoted him for one fight because the original debut got canceled when he got hurt. Are you surprised that it seems as though we are headed towards a divorce between Shakur and Matchroom after just 2 fights?
Yes. That's the simple answer, yes. Just because it seemed like it was all fantastic. I mean, Shakur's been over here. He's been to some of Eddie's gyms over here, or at least the gyms of fighters that Eddie looks after. He's done some sparring. He sparred the likes of Cameron Vong, and Eddie was there, and everyone was smiling. I think Shakur's spoken about Eddie in glowing terms, like he's now got a promoter that actually promotes him and pushes for him and says all the right things and pushes all the right buttons. So he felt like it was just a match made in heaven. Eddie's been looking for that big American star, and Shakur kind of fits the bill perfectly, right? Because I still think Shakur's got levels to go to become that proper household name that sells 1 million pay-per-views. And it almost seemed like it was going steadily. Yes, okay, maybe it wasn't supposed to be Josh Padley. That's not Eddie's fault. And then it's kind of hit a bit of a brick wall, which honestly makes no sense. I didn't see it coming. I saw the Edgar Berlanga one coming. I didn't see this coming. But as Eddie said there, he still looks, Eddie still believes there is a fight contract that he has with Turkey and Shakur that includes 2 more fights. William Zepeda will be an Eddie fight, I'm guessing. So I don't know, man. Boxing is the wild, wild west. Honestly, dude, honestly, they say, if you want loyalty, get a dog. If you want loyalty, boxing is the wrong sport for you. So I think promoters and fighters are now finding this out. But I just find it a crazy story.
Yeah, crazy how quickly things turn. It seems like things are going well with Boots Ennis and Eddie in Matchroom. And I thought we would see at least more than 2 fights because they were so excited to have him. Top Rank did I thought a pretty damn good job of building up Shakur Stevenson. The end was a little bit clunky there, but I don't really think it was Top Rank's fault if I'm being 100% honest. So let's see what happens. What a card, by the way. You mentioned Edgar Berlanga fighting your friend Hamza Shiraz in a fight that kind of came out of nowhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, normally you've got your ear to the ground and you can hear whispers about fights sort of being spoken about. I speak to Hamza Shiraz's manager quite a bit, and he did tell me there's going to be a surprise in July, but I just expected this to be someone, not Edgar Berlanga. So there's a couple of big issues here for Hamza. Number 1, he's having to fight in America. Number 2, he's going up in weight. Number 3, he's fighting Edgar Berlanga, who's a puncher. Number 4, he's got a new trainer in Andy Lee. There's a couple of things, and I'm like, okay, you're not going to do all of these things straight away, and he is. So credit to Hamza. We asked for these fighters to, go straight back in after a difficult fight. Hamza's like, okay, let me go straight back in. Hamza wants to become a world champion, and he feels like a win over Edgar Berlanga puts him in a great position to potentially fight the winner of Canelo Crawford. So that's the way he's looking at it. There's a bigger picture for Hamza, and he feels like he needs to get straight on the horse, not feel sorry for himself, and just take a warm-up fight. Give me a killer. Give me someone the American public know, and I'll take him out.
Alberto Puello against Subriel Matias on that card as well, which is a great one. David Morrell gets thrown on the card. I think there's 5 or 6 promoters coming together on this card. There's a little Matchroom, there's a little Golden Boy, there's a little.
Dude, it's one of the best cards this year,
and it just kind of feels like it just sort of came out of nowhere, right? Like none of these fights, and this date was talked about for a moment, but we didn't know what was going to be on it. And now all of a sudden, it seems like that July 11th, July 12th date, very reminiscent to what's to come next weekend with the card here in New York, and then the Canelo card in Riyadh, and then the Naoya Inoue card in Las Vegas on Sunday. It feels like we are moving towards a very big summer. Just a couple of weeks before that July 12th card, we will be getting the highly anticipated return of Jake Paul in Anaheim at the Pond. He's going up against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., a man who we saw last in action July of last year. It was on the undercard of the Jake Paul Mike Perry card in Tampa. He beat former UFC fighter Uriah Hall in a somewhat lackluster affair, if I'm being 100% honest. Both men didn't really impress. And as you mentioned earlier, we thought maybe we were getting Jake versus Canelo. Then there were the whispers about Tank Davis, and we land on JCC Jr. Jake doing his best to drum up interest. What did you make of the announcement when it came out? Also, by the way, in case you are a UFC fan, that is the same night as UFC 317 International Fight Week, although I would argue this very much not a crossover fight like some of the other Jake fights that we've seen where the MMA fans might be interested. This very much a boxing purist fight. I know that may sound weird, but they are teaming up with Golden Boy, Zurdo Ramirez, in the co-main event as well. What was your reaction when you heard about this on Friday?
Let's be honest, it was a drop down from maybe what we expected. When you hear names like Canelo, and I know Gervonta still sounds wild because of the size difference, but even when you hear a Gervonta, you're like, okay, this could be something crazy because he's obviously going for the biggest of the biggest in terms of names. I'm not actually as mad at it as some people. Chavez is a real fighter, or at least was a real boxer, is a former world champion. And if he can somehow get motivated and get in shape, this is going to sound crazy, but he should beat Jake Paul. Like, if he's a motivated and in shape Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., with the experience he has and Jake won't be, overwhelmingly bigger than him, then he should put up a good fight. I just wonder if he is motivated. I mean, Chavez hasn't been motivated for nearly a decade. I mean, you all see the famous video of his dad just kind of ringside, like just shaking his head of embarrassment. And if he wasn't motivated 10 years ago, he's not going to be motivated now when he's, 38, 39. But it's actually smart matchmaking. Jake is actually fighting a real boxer who, again, should beat him. But it's not the bells and whistles of some of the names that we expected. I don't know who I expected, but I almost wanted it to be something a bit left field and crazy. Maybe even like the Mike Tyson, something crazy like that. But unfortunately, it isn't. But I'm still going to tune in. I like the undercard match as well, Dorticus versus Zerdo Ramirez. So I'm going to watch. I think it's going to be intriguing. I just hope Chavez trains.
Yeah.
I really hope he trains, but I don't think he will.
Who do you back in that fight?
Jake.
You think Jake wins?
I think Jake wins. I think Jake's been doing this
if Chavez
7
takes
years.
it seriously, if he takes it seriously, if he says, you know what, I'm going to give it one last go, I'm going to go all in, the best of him at 40 against this current version of Jake Paul.
Then Chavez should beat him.
Oh, really? Okay.
And 100% Chavez should beat him.
Even at 40, considering everything he's put his body through?
Even at that, this guy's been boxing since he was a toddler.
Yeah.
He comes from boxing stock. He's a former world champion, like not given a belt, legit world champion. He should be able to beat him. He should be able to show Jake things that he's never seen before. Little moves that Jake's been boxing 6 years. There's certain things you still won't know and can't learn in that space of time. So Chavez should beat him, but honestly, unless there's a Big Brother style camera in his house watching him, I don't trust him. Honestly, I don't trust him. Honestly, someone needs to watch him 24 hours. If they're not, I don't trust what he's doing in between fight camps.
You would think you get that what's that movie with the guy? It's been a long day. The guy, he gets the golden ticket. Willy Wonka, you get that ticket. Okay, yeah. You get that Jake Paul lottery ticket.
But he's a millionaire already.
Yeah, is he a millionaire?
He's like royalty. Like honestly, him and his dad, maybe not him.
Oh, I know it is.
Because of his dad, he's royalty in Mexico. Like, he never needed to box. Like, it's a bit like Benn and Eubank. They didn't need to box. But certainly, even more so, Julio Cesar Chavez, he didn't need to do this. So, for him, it's not even the lottery ticket money. So, I'm sure he's not short of money. I'm sure the bailiffs are not trying to kick his door down. He's okay. So, I just don't know the interest. But we'll see. Maybe he can turn the clock back. Maybe.
There's a lot of people, by the way, in the chat who still, for whatever reason, don't believe that we are live. I don't know why they're obsessed.
Why?
Are they live? Are we not live?
Why would we not be live?
Here's me proving that we are live.
What are you going to do?
Shout out to Jeff in the chat who writes in right now, moments ago, what a great show today. Thank you for drowning out my beautiful girlfriend's pointless conversations today. # joke, # kind of not a joke. There you have it. Okay. If we're not live, how am I reading this right now?
There you go. Always live.
Hey, by the way, speaking of the chat, they did ask this question a lot today, and so we might as well address the elephant in the room. A lot of people are very upset, including myself, that you were not a part of the proceedings earlier today at the Grand Arrivals. Anything that you would like to say about your involvement this week in the Eubank Benn festivities?
You know, I don't want to do. I don't want to disappoint fans who might think, because I saw some people in the chat saying, it's okay, Adi will be there tomorrow. Adi will be there for the presser. Adi will be there. I don't want to disappoint fans who expect me to be there. I won't be there. I'm not part of the team for a fight week, which is, I get it. Some people are disappointed. Some people might be happy. I don't know. Some people might be happy, but I won't be part of the team this week. It's still a very, very, very good team. Darren Barker, Barry Jones, Tony Bellew, Carl Frampton. I believe Jamie Ward will be doing some stuff as well. I don't know who the presenter is, but it won't be your boy Ade. So, what can I tell you? Eh? Don't make me cry on the show, Ariel.
No, I won't make you cry.
About it, but it is what it is.
I will just say, we joke sometimes about the face of DAZN. You are the face of DAZN. When there's a big fight happening on DAZN, you need to be there. You have to be there. You should be there. When there's a big fight of historic proportions happening in the UK, you have to be there. you are a part of that fabric. You are a part of that DNA, and you have earned the right to be there, and you deserve to be there. You are the best at what you do. And so I am disappointed to hear that you are not going to be there. I don't think that it's any kind of knock on you. In fact, I think people will miss you even more, and sometimes absence makes the heart grow even fonder. You don't need that sentiment, but I'm very disappointed because only you could put this fight, the history, the lineage, the family history, these two men who are fighting on Saturday into proper context and keep the show moving along. People don't understand how difficult it is to do what you do, to be that traffic conductor up there and move everything, and someone's talking in your ear and get to point A and point B and then get back and throw it to here. It's a mess of a situation, and it's a very tough job that only a few people could do. Certainly in the sport of boxing, a limited number of people could do, and you are the best at doing that. So I'm disappointed to see this and hear this, but I don't think it's going to stop you, and you'll be right back in there wherever you decide to be next, where you deserve to be, hosting, presenting, as you say over there, in the studio, as you like to say, doing your thing. So I hope this, for whatever reason, I hope this doesn't deter you in any way, shape, or form, because it is no knock on you and your skills and how good you are at your job.
Thank you. That's very, very kind of you. Honestly, it means a lot coming from you. Obviously, someone that I've looked up to for a number of years. And no, look, it won't deter me. So many big shows coming up, so many stadium shows as well. Obviously, this one being on the doorstep stings a little bit, just because, again, Nigel Benn, one of my favorite fighters. I've covered, as you say, their dads. I've covered the sons as well. But decisions are decisions.
And by the way, commiserations to Jeff, who now writes in the chat after hearing me read out his comment. He says that he is now in the doghouse and she's very mad at him for writing this in the chat.
But wait, has he really said this back?
Yes, he did. She heard Ariel read out the comment, and just like that, I'm back in the doghouse.
Oh, well. Jeff, don't worry, Jeff.
Hey, I had to prove that we were live. You were collateral damage.
Us, you didn't believe us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. By the way, I know you're very high on the undercard. Before we go, do you want to shout out for someone who, it's a very UK-focused undercard with some tremendous fights, and that's the way it should have been, because they're trying to sell 65,000 or so seats on Saturday, and it sounds like they're very close to doing so. Is there a fight or two that you're very excited on the undercard? Very excited about, I should say.
Yeah, Chef Clark versus Vidal Riley. I think Eddie mentioned it's going to walk first, which is crazy, which goes to tell you just how good a card this is. Chef Clark is coming off a defeat in Monaco a few months back, but he is the British champion. He didn't lose his belt, obviously, because it was a European title that he was going for last time out. So he's the British champion. He's taken on a guy called Vidal Riley, who a lot of people know because of his association with KSI a couple of years ago. But he's a very, very good fighter. He actually goes to my gym, Vidal Riley, so I see him quite a lot. I'm fond of both guys. It's one of those fights where I'm fence sitting. I can't pick a winner. And it's not because I know both, but it's because both of them could win. It's a fantastic matchup. Genuine 50-50 fight, this one. It's going under the radar a little bit, obviously because of the magnitude of Eubank Benn, but I think it's starting to slowly sort of creep between the cracks. I think people are starting to now sort of pay attention to it. You've got two former world champions in action as well, Chris Billam-Smith against Brandon Glanton. Chris Billam-Smith, what's left? I was there for that fight against Zerdo last time out, and he got hurt in that fight quite bad. And look, I think Chris is a warrior. That's going to have one of those fights where he digs deep again and goes into the well. Will there be anything in the well? That's my worry for Chris Billam-Smith against Brandon Glanton, who's coming off a couple of good upset victories away from home. Liam Smith, former world champion. What's left with Liam again? Another fight that's kind of been there and done it, right? He's been a world champion. He takes on an unbeaten fighter called Aaron McKenna, who has only really just stepped up to this level. This is a guy that has only done a couple of 10-rounders, so it's a big step up for him. But is he catching Liam at the right time? And then we've got Anthony Yard versus Lyndon Arthur. Anthony Yard frustrates a lot of people over here because I think everyone knows how good he is. And what Anthony Yard does, unfortunately, he fights a Kovalev or Beterbiev, puts in really good performances, and then fights a D-list guy. And we're like, well, no, don't go that far down there. Go to a B-level guy. And in Lyndon Arthur, he's fighting someone that he's one-on-one with. So this is the trilogy to set it all. And then if Yard wins, maybe a Buatsi, maybe a Callum Smith, maybe a Benavidez. So a lot on the line for Anthony Yard to almost like Ben Whittaker, not just win, but win impressively.
perhaps a silver lining to you not working the card is that you can make a prediction for the main event. And so, what are you feeling? What are you feeling?
Oh, dude.
And by the way, I know you have relationships with the two of them, and maybe you want to abstain. I respect that.
Can I do that? I can do that.
Oh, you can abstain. I don't want to put you on the spot. No, it's not worth it. I don't like making predictions.
I start getting texts and
messages it's not worth it.
from both camps, and I'm like,
but you have a winner in your mind.
100%.
Okay, do me a favor. All right. Do you have any? Do you have any pencils there? Do you have any pieces of paper?
No.
Write it down. Okay.
Yeah.
And then next week you have nothing. Golly.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. How about this? Text it in our chat, and then if you're right, next week we'll give you props.
Okay. Wait.
In the meantime, while you do that, I do want to thank our good friends over at Mobland, over at Paramount Plus for their
support. If they're sponsoring, what do I get? Do I get anything? Do I get like?
No, but I was going to pretend that they're
screenings. Well, early screenings, some T-shirts or something. Like, what can I see episode 5 before it comes out on Sunday? What do we get?
You get this right here on the screen, and you also get me saying that they are sponsoring our parting shot. In actuality, they are not. But I'm just pretending since we have a sponsor. I'm throwing that into the deal because we love them so much.
No money or anything? Don't get any money?
I think someone's getting money, but.
Oh, look, see?
Not me. Not me.
The Helwani family.
No,
is this what it is?
No, I think.
Is what it is? Season tickets to Nottingham Forest?
Oh, that'd be nice. Can you speak that into existence? That would be nice.
Yes,
no,
please.
Let's go to our parting shot, our final segment of the day. Who is it? Oh, he was, dare I say, he was clinical out there. He was working like an engineer out there. You know what I'm talking about? Like an electrician out there. Look at Josh Padley. Come on. The jokes.
Oh, you tricked me.
What'd you think?
When you said he was I thought you was leaning towards Ben Whittaker, the surgeon. I thought that was your kind of the surgeon sort of thing he was doing.
Well, you know what? You're 100% right, but at some point you will pick up on the fact that we can't show footage from other networks. So there's never going to be a non-DAZN stoppage in the parting shot. I was hoping by episode 22 you'd figure that out. No, it's Josh Padley with the win over Marco Spetnanovic.
Okay, we need to sort this out. We need to sort this out because we want to show everything. We can't just make a parting shot with the zone fighter when we know there's a better parting shot from somewhere else.
It's the DAZN parting shot. What did you think of Padley? Were you impressed?
I was. He had a few hundred fans there as well.
Oh, nice.
And look, it's. I said, because I did this show, and I was like, he's now walking into the ring as a favorite. His last couple of fights has been the underdog. He's now a full-time fighter. He's going to have his next couple of fights as a favorite. So he needs to get used to that. But I love his story, man. Honestly, this is why they say, don't get ready, stay ready. And this guy stayed ready, got the call, did okay against Shakur Stevenson, right, a pound for pounder. And now look, even Shakur tweeted something about him as well. So everyone's getting behind the story. And who knows? Could he get to that world level sort of fighting level where he's actually a legit world title challenger? I don't know, but I'm going to enjoy the story.
As am I. He's an easy guy to root for as well, and I was happy to see him get back on track. And what a bond he has formed with Shakur Stevenson. I see him giving him props on social media. 6-7 months ago, I probably never heard of Josh Padley, and here he is now rooting him on. So great to see as well. All right, we're out of time, Ade. It's going to be a fun weekend. Sit back, relax, and enjoy it all. And the best part about it is we're back next week to talk about that. Chris Eubank Jr.
Oh, my.
Conor Benn.
Oh, my Lord.
April 26th. It's actually finally going to happen. 4 days away now from a fight that we have been talking about for about 4 years.
Yes.
Hopefully, let us knock on wood, nothing happens between now and Saturday. They make the walk. They figure it out. And let's see. If your prediction is any indication, golly, we're in for a fun night on Saturday night. For now, though, we say goodbye for Eddie Hearn, for the great, the best in the business, Ariel Oladipo, and for myself and our whole team.
And Jeff.
And Jeff as
and
well.
Jeff.
Shout out to Jeff. Work through it, my man. We got your back. For the whole team here in New York City, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you all so very much. Enjoy the fights. We'll talk to you next week.